Welcome to the Life with Joey Calvo Podcast. I'm Joey Calvo. Before we get started with our guest, and I've already explained to him what's going on, I got this email this morning from this asshole, literal asshole, telling me that that the guest, that the person that, because I did a personal Facebook Live yesterday, and because my birthday's next month, and I booked myself a room in Atlantic City because I go to have fun.
Nice.
And I get free rooms when I can. Okay. And so this asshole turns around and says, "Oh, she's not your friend. Who will want to pay?" And I put out a certain amount because I said if my friends wanted to do something for me for my birthday, this is what I wanted. Yes, she's a former guest. Yes, she's an adult entertainer. So yes, you do have to pay for her taking her time out to come spend time with me. Okay. But this asshole went a little further and told me that the podcast number one fan, number one supporter, which I'm not even going to bring up her picture right now, is not real. Gee, if this person wasn't real, then when you watch these podcasts and you see the questions, would you think they came from someone who's not real? I wonder. And then went a little bit more personal on me about, other things in reference to my life. So it had to be someone that knows me somewhat. But I have posted on Facebook about certain little issues. So this asshole also turned around and said, every guest I have is a nobody. Literally, nobody. So, gee, this gentleman came on because he's a nobody?
Well, see, that's what she got wrong.
No,
I'm not a nobody.
No.
I'm a somebody.
Albert, I know. I'm just saying.
And no, but that's it's interesting to me that she would criticize your show and say you have nobodies on.
Oh, no.
What shows are you on? Who's interviewing you? I've been interviewed for 15 years.
Yeah.
So I've been on a lot of podcasts. I've been on a lot of shows.
Right.
So that's what I would, if I were dealing with this person.
Yeah.
I guess maybe she's not on OnlyFans. She's on Only Trash. Possibly.
No. This is a he, Albert, not a she.
Oh, it's a he. Oh, okay.
The person I would love,
even worse.
Yeah, the person I would love to have on to share my birthday with. Yeah, she's on Loyal Fans and stuff. She's been on the podcast before. She's if you go to the live section, she is the second biggest views we've had on this podcast on YouTube since we've been on YouTube. Yeah.
That would make sense.
Yeah, it's gotten over 160 views in reference to her.
So in this case, this guy would be on Only Trash. He wouldn't be on
Only Trash. Oh, wait a minute. And Albert, on top of that, he said I would never get on TV and radio. Folks, yes, there is a lie to that. This podcast is actually going on with an organization here in Philadelphia that has a radio and TV station. So, John Colton, you are the biggest asshole. Okay, go fuck yourself. Okay, because if this is what you think I am, go fuck yourself. And Albert, I'm sorry you had to deal with this in reference to it.
It's the most interesting opening to a podcast or a YouTube show that I've been on in a long time. I'm like sitting back and enjoying the show. Or should I say the pre-show? All I have to say about that guy is, here's the one thing I will say. You don't need TV and radio. You got YouTube.
Yeah.
More people are watching YouTube than they're probably watching television. that they are listening to the radio, that they're even watching movies.
Yeah. Oh,
so, who's got the final say now? Who's got the last laugh?
Of course. And again, Albert, I apologize. I take it out on you in reference to. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Taking it out on him. He's the one that's going to hear this.
Yeah.
I'm getting back. I'm going, this guy is, this guy sounds like a total loser to me.
Yeah. And then, I turned around. I went out on a former classmate because I was thinking it was that person who knew this person to do it. And I went and tapped that person. I turned around on my Facebook and X and literally said, I'm dead to everyone. I have no friends, because that's where it actually came from, was more Facebook. Because I've only done one Facebook Live, and it was for
actually for a group that's a fan group of the TV show Moonlighting from the 80s. So I've only done one.
I remember that show. I love that show. I love that show. All right.
Yeah. So I had a great time analyzing Moonlighting. And that can be found on my YouTube channel, by the way. You can find that one on my YouTube channel. Okay. Which is at writer Albert Lanier 3434.
Okay. So we're going to get to that in a little bit. But I actually do have to
apologize. Let us begin.
We got to get to the good stuff. This gentleman that is on here that's helping me criticize the asshole, his name is Albert Lanier. He's a former film reviewer and freelance journalist who writes about films on Substack and has newsletters called Final Cut and Retro Review, and also does a podcast called Final Cut as well. Albert, thank you so much for coming on. And again, I thank you for your opinion in reference to the asshole. In reference to that. So, what got you started into this? Tell us about Albert Lanier. Who Albert Lanier is, minus everything we just went through.
Okay. First of all, like I said, I want to repeat, that's the most interesting opening to a podcast I've been on in a long time. So I'm just sitting back. There's no popcorn. I have no popcorn here. I couldn't eat popcorn if I did. And I just thought, so many losers. Too many losers online. So little.
Yeah.
But talking about more important subject, me, he won't like that if I say that. Actually, my background, currently, just to set this up, I'm actually on a media tour right now for award season. Award season being the Oscars, previously at the Golden Globes last month. Yeah. So, as you noted, I was a film reviewer, and my background is having been a journalist, a print journalist, and a freelance writer for 22 years. And going back a little further from that, I'll just kind of talk about film and then a little about also my career. Right. In terms of film, my interest in film started when I was a kid. I didn't go to USC or NYU film school. I went to NPL, Neighborhood Public Library.
Okay.
My library had a film course. I think it was literally called movie making course when I was 12 or 13. And I took that course, I think it was Mondays at 3 p.m., and I learned basic filmmaking aspects, techniques. I learned a storyboard, I learned a little editing, learned a little lighting, I learned other aspects. And everyone had projects that they could do, and they helped out people. I did boom mic, I did camera, I was on camera. There's a man in the library because we were in this back room in the library, and then we came out and we'd do stuff in the library. So I was not man on the street, I was man in the library. Yeah. So I was doing that course or class, and that's what developed within me a love of film. Before that, I was not into movies. I was just into movies I liked. Oh, Star Wars, I want to see that movie. Raiders Lost Ark, I want to see that movie. Yeah. Blade Runner, I want to see that movie. But beyond that, no interest. I became a film lover because of that course. And instead of becoming a filmmaker, because I didn't really have access, first of all, I was way too young. By the time I entered the course, I was 13. I had no access to film equipment or even video equipment, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So instead, I ended up going to college. I went to a liberal arts college in my home state of Hawaii, and called the University of Hawaii, West Oahu. And I got a bachelor's degree, studied English. And I ended up becoming a freelance journalist. I intended to be a novelist, actually, and a short story writer.
Right.
But I ended up becoming a journalist and a freelance writer. And I did that for 22 years. I wrote for magazines. I wrote for newspapers. I did client work as a freelancer. Right. And later on, I became a ghostwriter as well. Right. So I've been a ghostwriter since about 2014.
Okay.
I retired in 2017. As for film reviewing, during the time I was a journalist, I was covering local film festivals here. Right. So I did maybe 2 or 3 as press. Right. And then I ended up becoming a film reviewer from about 2002 to 2010. And I was writing for a website called Ain't It Cool News. So I covered film festivals. Primarily, it was a film festival reviewer. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to become a full-time reviewer, full-time film critic, because I had other work to do. Financially, it wasn't possible. I had to write for magazines. I had to write for newspapers. I had to write other stories. Right. So being, I guess, your friendly neighborhood freelancer. Yeah. But the only time actually that I've been able to write about film has been recently, last couple of years. I stopped reviewing movies after 2010, came back to writing about film in 2024, April of 2024, when I created and produced on Substack Final Cut, as you mentioned, which is a film newsletter, which has various types of pieces: analytical film essays, personal film essays, general film essays, and there's some photo albums too. I have a couple photo albums from the time I visited the set of Baywatch. Yeah.
And you probably got thousands of subscribers, correct? People that actually pay to actually go and subscribe to his newsletters, correct?
Well, I'd like that to be the case. I mean, that's ideally what I would wish for with it. I can't say I have thousands of subscribers. I wouldn't be surprised if a couple thousand decide to show up because of this interview. Yeah. But no, I wish that were the case. But I have a modest following, I guess, and well, that's one of the reasons that I go on shows. Yeah. You know, I've been on shows for 15 years. I was telling you, I've been interviewed since I was, later in my career as a journalist. So I've been on podcast, radio, I think some TV for about over 15 years. So, I do this to promote. Nowadays, I do interviews to promote my podcast and Final Cut, which is a promotional vehicle for my newsletter. Yeah. And of course, it's a film podcast. Right. And I have another podcast called The Write Off, which is about writing. Yeah. And so that's why I do interviews. I mean, that's why I do interviews these days, unlike the past where I could just come on a show and talk about an article I wrote or something I researched.
Right. Well, Albert, I want to apologize for that because I just, I had to go back at that asshole for a minute, in reference to that.
Actually, again, I understand. Yeah, I understand because I've been online for a long time. Yeah, and you have to occasionally deal with assholes. Yeah. So I'm not surprised. I'm surprised more people don't vet the way you do. Maybe they'd be healthier. Yeah. Oh, you know what I mean? Get it off your chest.
And, I mean, there's so much that we can talk about today, especially with the Oscars coming up and stuff. And,
right. And that's why I'm here, actually. I'm on an award season media tour. Yeah. That's what you just kicked off this week. And I think technically it's slated to last up until the Oscars, which are Sunday, March 15th. It's going to be on ABC. So, and it's a first for me. I've never done an award season media tour. Okay. And by media tour, I mean going from show to show. Like that's the tour aspect. Right. So. It's been a couple of years since I've done a media tour. And what immediate for me is doing shows within a minimum amount of time. Right. Like it's anywhere from 3 weeks to about a month and a half. Okay. So this is, again, it just kicked off this week. I was on a couple shows this week. So, and thus far, I'm having a good time. Yeah. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah. And I, folks, Albert will probably give a review of this afterwards and put it on his social media. Say, you really want to be on this podcast because this guy is funny as could be, and the time I would come on, he would have to have an asshole give him an email bad-mouthing him, and call it happens. And call
again. It's the most interesting. I got to be honest. It's the most interesting start to a podcast I've been on in a long time. Yeah. I'm so used to the tried and trite and true, or the usual boilerplate, and so this was different. You go with it. I go with it. Like I said, I've been interviewed on shows for a long time, and I don't question. Unless you're dealing with somebody who's incompetent, totally incompetent.
I think this guy really is. So,
he may be. Yeah, he sounds incompetent.
Yeah, but so let's get to the real stuff. We just went through the Golden Globes, and I normally don't watch award shows, folks. Just like I really don't, because they actually get boring. Even though
that's understandable.
Yeah, even though like Nikki Glaser was the host, and she's not bad looking.
Yeah, I think she did a good job with the Golden Globes.
Yeah,
I give her credit. I mean, she sounds like she nailed it.
Yeah,
Like I said, it's interesting you mentioned that.
Yeah,
it's interesting you mentioned award shows because I don't watch them as much as I used to. I watch bits and pieces these days.
Yeah.
And since I've come back to writing about film, what I do is I call trend tracking or trend spotting in regards to film. So that's why I keep track of the awards. It's what I did when I was a reviewer and a film critic, but I never did interviews about it because I didn't get interviewed until later in my career anyway. So, so that's why this is a first for me is talking about awards season. And again, it's enjoyable for me thus far. I mean, I like talking about, it's interesting talking about the Oscars. But here's a point that I've made on in a previous interview that I'll make about the awards.
Yeah.
The awards, of course, are very different, right? So the two major awards are the Golden Globes and the Oscars. And the point that I make about the Golden Globes and the Oscars is they're very different in terms of their focus. The Golden Globes are primarily about celebrity and personality.
Yeah.
They kind of always go with, and they sort of kind of live in the moment. Right. They're very much about what's out of left field, what's suddenly happening, what's surprised, what's off center and completely unexpected. They really sort of embrace the unexpected on that show, and they are about celebrity. The point I make about the Oscars is, go ahead.
No, I say you had just froze for a minute. You just came back, so.
Okay. Well, I was going to say the Golden Globes are about celebrity, and they're about personality.
Right.
And the point, one of the points I make about the Golden Globes is this: they seem to focus on, and it seems to be something that they can live with, right? Well, all this offbeat, off-center, out of left field stuff. The Oscars, by definition, are not about celebrity. And I'm sure people will disagree with me on this, but they're not about celebrity. They're about film.
Right.
They're about movies.
Yeah.
The Oscars don't mind celebrities. They're very happy with celebrities, but celebrities are in service to movies and awards. They're not the focus of the show.
Right.
So if a star says something amusing or witty or funny, it's great.
Yeah.
But the Oscars don't like, and the Academy does not like the unexpected.
Right.
That's a very organized, structured, well-produced show.
Right.
So the surprise element does not work for them. I'll cite this, for example, the La La Land Moonlight fiasco when they were announcing Best Picture. Yeah. Warren Beatty, Faye Dunaway. Check it out on Google. Not Google. Check it out on YouTube if you have it. Yeah, you remember that. I saw that live.
Yeah.
And it was, I can't recall a stranger moment.
Yeah. Well,
that's what I mean by surprise. They don't like that. The Oscars are all about, being efficient.
Yeah.
That's why they're the gold standard of awards. So what happens, that's why somebody and here's a point I'll make. Whereas if you look at what happened on the Oscars, the Golden Globes would go with that. They'd be like, we announced the wrong one? Okay, let's make a moment out of this.
Yeah.
I think that's the mentality with the Golden Globes. Yeah. That's the impression that I get. I'm not saying that the Golden Globes isn't organized or structured. It has to be as an award show. They're much more about being in the moment, being free, being out of left field. Yeah. They love that sort of thing. And I don't care what anyone says. Yeah. They seem to thrive on that. And they seem to be about that. The Oscars hate that sort of thing from what I've seen and from what I've read and what I understand of the Academy. They're all about preparation. They're all about producing an excellent show. Mm-hmm. And they don't want anything to get in the way of that excellent production, that excellent show. And that's important for people, I think, to understand. That's why Ricky Gervais would never be the host of the Oscars. Nothing against Ricky. I don't want any flack from him or anyone. I don't know if you would watch this, but that's why I think Ricky Gervais would not be the host of the Oscars.
Okay.
Because if you look at what he was saying on the Golden Globes, if he's really that controversial, why keep him as the host for 2, 3, several shows?
Right.
2, 3, many, 2, 3, several shows.
And I mean, Nikki Glazer's on her second, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's hosting it next year. Because,
I think so.
And she literally said, no one is, above what's going to happen. Everybody's going to be a target in some way, shape, or form on it. Just like like I said, like when I started this podcast tonight, I was a target of something, and and my thing is, this is what I'm going to do. If you don't like it, go fuck yourself. But
you're doing a Ricky Gervais.
Yeah.
In a sort of way.
Yeah. But and then you had Trevor Noah hosted the Grammys for 6 years. And then now he and all of a sudden Donald Trump's going after him because of something he said. Get a grip, people. They're comedians. Okay? They're gonna poke fun in the shows. They try to make the shows interesting to watch. Mm-hmm. Okay? They want to get the viewership. It's like watching the Super Bowl this weekend with New England going against Seattle when I would rather watch it if it was San Francisco and Miami or something, but that
would be 1984.
Yeah,
Montana versus Marino. It actually was a good Super Bowl. Well, for a while it was until the 49ers got the upper hand. Now it's weird it's interesting you bring up football because, believe it or not, I'm someone who's done NFL analysis on a sports show for this season. And I'm doing something tomorrow. I think I'm going to be doing a Super Bowl segment on a show for the Olympics, for Olympics coverage. Okay. So, I've personally followed football myself. I've had to because I've been asked to I was asked to do analysis on a show called The Writer Report. Okay. But I'm near the end of that, and it's been interesting. Interesting. I don't come from a sports background. Yeah. I'm not an athlete. I'm not an official. I'm not a coach.
Right.
But it's interesting. It's interesting that doing that assessment. All I'll say is I'll leave with a Tom Brady quote, which is may the best team win.
Yeah.
I don't know if that'll upset people in New England, but they're watching this.
Yeah. But all right, so let's get all serious now. That's right. No, I had enough of that asshole. So let's talk about the Oscars.
Yeah.
All right. So now, of course, I don't have the list of all the nominees
and all the nominees and so forth.
But in your opinion, who do you think deserves it, and who do you think got the big snub?
Well, it's interesting. I think that Sinner's got a lot of nominations. In fact, it broke the record.
Right.
As much as I like the film, I think it's a really good film. I tend to believe, and I normally don't, again, because I've never been interviewed about the Oscars.
Right.
I mean, I would talk with people, you know, friends and acquaintances about the Oscars, and people would, because they used to ask me. I used to do a film discussion group at Borders Bookstore years ago when I would cover the film festival as a journalist and later as a reviewer.
Right.
And I would have people kind of come to me and say, what do you, around Oscar time, what do you think? What are the movies? What will win? What might not win? And so forth.
Right.
So it's been a while, but I tend to believe One Battle After Another, Paul Thomas Anderson's film, will probably win Best Picture.
Okay.
I think Sinners might do well in the technical categories, especially with a lot of its nominations. I'll probably battle it out with Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein in those categories, I would assume. But if I had to go in, I don't normally handicap the Oscars, but if I had to go and state what I think will probably win, I'd say One Battle After Another.
Okay.
Paul Thomas Anderson's film.
Okay. And now I'm going to jump off the Oscars for a minute because I want your opinion, because you heard me mention about American Fox, who's a superheroine, but she's also this podcast's #1 fan and #1 supporter. And, we both are into Wonder Woman. Okay. Now, we both believe that Linda Carter, of course, will always be the best Wonder Woman out. Now that James Gunn has taken over DC and literally just said Gal Gadot is not going to be Wonder Woman girl, do you think he made the biggest fucking mistake of his life?
I don't think so.
I
don't think so. It really depends on who's going to be Wonder Woman, who's going to play the part.
Yeah.
That's where the mistake might lie.
Yeah.
So I don't know who's slated to play Wonder Woman because I've been so wrapped up with the awards and movies from 2025 and all that. I haven't really paid much attention to that. I also don't pay much attention to superhero movies.
Okay.
Like, I used to be a comic book collector and I used to read comic books, but that was a long time ago. But so I've been to Comic Cons, for example. I like Comic Con. I come from the comic book world in that I was a collector. I was somebody who was a reader of comic books. But I have to be brutally honest. Like, I think there are enough superhero movies.
Yeah.
I really do.
Yeah.
I think it's time to move on for the major studios. I don't know how this will be recognized in that circle. Right. Especially since I want to continue to do Comic Cons. I haven't been to a Comic Con in a few years, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. But I think it's time to move on. I think it really is. I mean, I don't mind a Comic Con. I don't mind like moving into television.
Yeah.
I actually rather prefer to see TV shows about superheroes and comic book characters than movies. That's my preference right now.
Okay, so
that to me, partly because that's what I saw when I was a kid. I saw The Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think I saw the TV movie about Spider-Man.
Yes.
Yikes.
Yeah. 1977. I watched
precisely.
Yeah. And then you had Joanna Cameron, who was Isis in Saturday morning cartoons in 1975 before Wonder Woman came out. So
let me guess, you're a comic book guy?
I like I said, I haven't. I don't collect them. I used to watch Wonder Woman when I was little. I watched ISIS. I watched Electra Woman and Dinah Girl. I wasn't a big fan, but ISIS wasn't bad. Wonder Woman, of course, really got me going. And then, then there was, of course, Shazam and Superman and Batman.
Yeah, I saw those. The shows that you mentioned, I don't recall Dinah Girl as much, although I'm familiar with it. But I remember ISIS. I remember Shazam, which is really Captain Marvel. Billy Batson, who he turned into by saying Shazam. But again, I'm more interested in the TV, in evolution of TV. I think there's a show now. I haven't spent any time looking at it. Called Wonder Man that's coming out.
I heard about this. I'm like, I kind of heard about it a little bit, and I'm like, well, I don't have like Netflix or Prime because it's on one of those streaming channels in reference to it. But it sounded like okay. You had She-Hulk on and then to find out now that the actress that portrayed the main character just quit all of a sudden. And but they were bad mouthing the show from minute one.
It got a lot of criticism. I know that. That's the only thing I heard about it. This was a lot of criticism. Here's what's happened in regards to not only movies. I myself wrote an essay called "A Confederacy of Dunces" about what passes for film criticism these days, or so-called film reviewers and film critics on YouTube, who I have absolutely no respect for whatsoever.
Right.
What's happened is that you have a lot of people that are trying to take politics and inject it into the world of comic books, try to inject it in the world of movies, try to inject it in the world of television. And basically what it is right-wing conservative ideology that is basically being transmuted and transmogrified into quote-unquote criticism, into quote-unquote critique, the quote-unquote commentary. It's nothing more than rancid, putrid politics that passes for fandom. A lot of these people that are having these YouTube channels, and I'm not going to name names,
of course,
but and again, in regards to the film critique and the film criticism, you could read my essay, A Confederacy of Dunces, which is, I believe, at allanier.substack.com, which is where Final Cut is. If you're interested in that, or people are interested in that. The problem is they literally have injected politics, which is all they're interested in. And so to these people, I basically say, why don't you get your asses out of the fan world? Why don't you get your asses out of the Comic-Con world? Why don't you get your asses out of comic books and superheroes and movies and TV? Because let's be brutally honest, you guys really don't care about that. All you care about are your political agendas and your ideology. That's all you care about. It's the same, and it's talking points that you see on Fox News, or OAA, or I forget, OAN, or Newsmax. That's being applied to YouTube, that's being applied to TikTok, that's being applied online. That's what these guys are all about. And it's like, I could go into a further critique about this. But a lot of it is just bullshit. It is. It is. They don't really care about movies. They don't care about TV. They don't care about these things. They don't. And I don't know who's telling the truth about these people or really saying it as it is, but they don't really. Maybe there's some people on YouTube that are, but they're not. They don't care. They don't give a damn. They don't care. And it's like, look, I can understand people that are into comic books, into the superhero movies, into all that, who have valid criticisms based on the books themselves and based on what they were. But a lot of what I see or what I've been made aware of, I don't really see it. But what little I've seen them in the made aware of, there are a bunch of idiotic ideologues. I'm sorry. It's a passion for them. So I guess that was my right.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, when we were growing up, we had Siskel and Ebert doing film reviews, and they were interesting, and they gave you an idea of what their thoughts were about certain movies, and they give it a thumbs up or thumbs down. And then you had the late Rex Reed. He was okay in reference to reviews and stuff. And then you had Gene Shalit on the Today Show and giving reviews, and people listened to them, watched them because they gave their honest opinion, like you're giving yours today, and like what I went through in the rant about saying how guests that come on this podcast are nobodies when I know they're somebody because they came to me and said, listen, I would like to come on and share my story with you. If you were a nobody, you wouldn't come up to me and say, I want to be on your podcast because I have something to share, So, it's idiotic in reference to it,
right. Well, I'm on a tour. I'm on a media tour. So for me, the more the merrier in regards to interviews. Yeah. So I'm on a show and I'm fine. That bitter guy that you mentioned, or that guy, he can stew in his own juices as far as I'm concerned.
He's not a guy, he's an ass.
Okay, he's someone passing for a guy. But what I would say, but it's interesting you bring up critics. I would also bring up Pauline Kael, the New Yorker. I would bring up Andrew Saris. I would bring up Dwight McDonald. I would bring up writers, and of course, going back years ago, James Agee, very important critic. So part of the problem in regards to film criticism, and I think film reviewing, film criticism primarily is the basis for film criticism has, from what I've seen, primarily been in terms of writing, and primarily in terms of people who are writers, people with background with literature, maybe they studied English in college like I did, people that are journalists. If you look at Siskel and Ebert, they were writing for two newspapers in Chicago. Gene Siskel was Chicago Tribune, and Roger Ebert was the Chicago Sun-Times, which are competing papers. And so there was a kind of basis, a standard for a film reviewer. A film reviewer, by definition, was a educated, intelligent, effective dissector of cinema. Right. And what we get now are people who are uneducated twerps and morons doing YouTube shows from their crappy, I should say shitty, little studio apartments. You notice the backgrounds, like the shelves, the giveaways, the shelves bulging with Blu-rays and DVD. I said, I'm a serious film fan. I watch a lot of movies, as you can tell from my bulging shelves. It's not the only thing bulging about these people. Have you taken a look at them?
No.
Have you taken a look at these people?
I don't. I don't, because I don't even get a chance to go to the movies, that much. I mean, and
that's right.
Mean, like I said, movies I bought on CD.
A lot of people watch the movies on their phone. They watch it on their laptop. They watch it on their PC. Even I watch movies sometimes that way. Like I said, I haven't been to a theater in, I think it's 2019, but that was because of the pandemic. That's a whole other subject, the theater versus other outlets. But
go ahead. I'm sorry.
So what's emerged since I've come back to writing about film, I don't see too many real film critics. I don't see too many real film reviewers.
Right.
There's some film writers out there writing for magazines and doing a serious and effective job. But I don't really see too many educated, intelligent, effective dissectors of cinema, as I would put it. Right. It's unfortunate. I was saying this in an interview earlier this week. As I was asked about film journalism and film reviewing, I said it'd be nice if there were some real film reviewers. And some real film critics. There are some, obviously, still working for publications, but it's really diminished since the time that I left reviewing. It's at a low sink. It's at a sewer level. It's bad, and I blame YouTube for that. I'm not saying YouTube, the company, Google, Alphabet. But I blame the YouTube, the platform partly for that, because anybody can go on and make an ass out of themselves on YouTube talking about movies, and pretend that they know what they're talking about when in fact they don't. So it's a different standard. I covered movies by going to film festivals. I had to go and apply for accreditation. I had to go and get a press badge, a press, press. I had to get that in order to do it. In fact,
all the credentials you needed,
and go to screenings and go to movies and set up interviews. It was a lot of work. Speaking of accreditation, here's one of my press badges from the film festival. Wow. Here's another one.
Yep.
This was from an event. I think this is when I was at an event for the movie Pearl Harbor back in 2001. Yeah.
Wow.
So, just a few of my press badges here. Now, let me just bring back to the Oscars here.
Let's go back to the Oscars.
It's interesting because I've never been to an Oscar ceremony. I wouldn't mind being invited. Hint, hint. But no, that's all right. But the closest I got to the Oscars. Now, normally I watch the Oscars at home, right? That's what I've always done. But one year I was invited by the film festival is covering here in Hawaii Film Festival. They have an event called, I think, Oscar Night America, and the Oscars allow, I think the show to be beamed in or taped earlier than normally shown in a place. So where I am, the Oscars years ago were not shown live. They were shown kind of tape delay, or in primetime. But now it's live here. I think they do it live, and then they do it primetime as well.
It'll be 8 o'clock on ABC on the 15th.
Probably. On March 15th.
And then they go about 3-4 hours and so on. Because
it's a long event. So I was invited to an Oscars. So it was at a restaurant. This was my pass for the event.
Okay. All right.
And so I was in this small restaurant. So I was working that day. This is Sunday, and I was at a friend's house. I was working in a small newspaper that she had, a small ethnic newspaper. So I was writing an article because there was a problem with my computer. And so I had to go. She had to take me back to my house. I had to get dressed up and then head to the awards with her. She picked me up and we went to the awards. It was in a small restaurant, rather small restaurant, bunch of people packed in. And I'm like, oh, and there were TVs all around so you could watch it. And I'm like, oh, great. Am I going to be able to do that? It turns out I had a great time.
Oh, yeah.
A wonderful time. It was great. I didn't think I would, because I thought, I'm going to be wearing this because I hate to dress up. I really do. Normally, I'm like you. I'm wearing T-shirts. I'm wearing T-shirts. I can't do that when I do an interview. I have to look, formal because I'm a writer. I can't wear a Grateful Dead T-shirt. It would be great, but or something like that.
I told you can dress whatever way you want,
Well, sure. But normally when I do interviews, even though I'm retired, I still have to dress. If I'm on camera, I have to dress appropriately.
Yeah.
If I'm just doing a radio or podcast, no, I'm in my t-shirts and shorts or whatever, but so that's the closest that I've come to the Oscars, was going to this Oscar telecast party, which was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. I didn't think I would, because I'm like so used to watching the Oscars at home and watching it. But the closest that I came actually to an award ceremony, this is interesting, was the Emmys. There was a year, it's 2019.
Okay.
And the Emmys were showing, they selected a few cities to show it live in a theater.
Right.
And I got tickets to that. So I had to, again, dress up. I think I literally wore something like this.
Yeah.
And went to this theater downtown Honolulu. And so they had a screen, and that's where they were, projecting the show on. The thing about award show is this. So that's the closest to an award show that I've come to. That thing lasted 3 hours at least. It's exhausting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I have a newfound respect.
Yeah, like I said, most of these shows start to get boring after a bit. Technical and this. And I mean, now the Golden Globes, believe it or not, actually brought podcasters into it. And
I noticed that. They have a podcasting category.
Yeah. I mean, to give you an idea, it's mainly going to be either like an Amy Poehler or a Joe Rogan or, all these famous celebrities that do their own podcast. That's what you're going to hear more about than like a Kylie Kelsey or the Kelsey brothers themselves, even though they're getting more famous because of Taylor Swift in reference to that. But, like something like this podcast, it's not
right. They're not going to have my podcast on there.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen.
We would have to pay for ours, like to be on the Webbies or on a podcast.
Oh, right.
Yeah. Because like if we're going to be nominated for podcast of the year or something like that, it's going to cost you $90 to want to do that. Please. I mean,
I got to keep my $90. Thank you very much.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, this podcast. I mean, I had one podcast. I did 15 minutes with a young lady from Kuala Lumpur, and I mean, she had so many followers that it had 1,620 views on it. Plus, is the number one, viewed podcast on YouTube. The next one is the one that I mentioned in the rant of the adult entertainer that I wanted to hang out for my birthday, and she's got 160 views. She's the second most. And when I do podcasts with questions with the number one fan, number one supporter, and I post their picture up, it'll get 40, 50 views. Gee, I wonder why. Yeah, okay. But, otherwise, if it was just something like me, like I think the most views I got just doing a year-end podcast type thing was like 40 views, 40, 45 views.
Whoa. You're very upfront. I'll say that much for you. You're very upfront about it.
Yeah. And you know what?
Most people wouldn't be that upfront about their shows or podcasts or something like that. Yeah. I'll give you credit for that.
Yeah. I mean, believe it or not, okay, in reference to the guests or nobodies, okay, who watches CBS's Blue Bloods? Okay? Who got the opportunity to talk to Gregory Jabara, who played Garrett in the 1PP office and spoke about William Shatner going to space? Me. We did an hour on YouTube. That is in the live section, believe it or not. Okay? I also had a radio legend in Philadelphia. Now, we only did 15 minutes because her schedule was a little tight, and she was talking from her car. We did 15 minutes. That was the best thing in the world. I had a former meteorologist from CBS Philadelphia who wrote a book at the time. It was a fun chat because we talked about the issues she had in her life. So I mean, to have, that happening, and just to let you know, Gregory Jabara got like 60 views. Okay? He got like 60 views. I also got the opportunity, and friends, literally, we do talk with, and I have it in the description. Okay? I actually talk with model. Well, she doesn't like to be called supermodel, but model Carol Alt.
Oh, I know that.
We are literally friends. We chat maybe once every couple, not all the time, but we chat. And she comes to my DM, she DMs me and, tells me everything. We're both cat lovers. So we and she, she's on X, she's on Instagram. And yeah, I talk about her. I've had her on the podcast. We did actually a two-parter because when we attempted to do it back then, it's not going to be on YouTube because I was on a Anchor.fm platform at the time when we did this, and she was actually on the phone. And we talked about Howard Stern's Private Parts movie because she was in that at the time. She was in the movie. But we also talked to her about her modeling career. But there was so much more I found out about her as time went on. It's hard to get her back on the podcast because, there's so many people that want her on their podcasts or on their TV shows. She's very famous. But she takes time out once in a while and talks to me. And we chat for a little bit,
So to that guy who says that you have nobody's on there.
Yep.
Checkmate.
Yep.
So again, moving on.
Yes.
What I would say is, it's an interesting time of the year. So it's kind of an interesting time of the year. Like this has been fun thus far.
Yeah.
Talking about the Oscars, not just here, but on the interviews that I've done thus far.
Yeah.
And I think it was a very good year for movies.
Okay.
2025 was a very good year for movies.
Yeah.
You had a lot of, I think part of it, is the fact that a lot of movies from outside the U.S. that were very good.
Yeah. No
Other Choice from Park Chan-wook. It's Just an Accident from Janar Panahi. You have The Secret Agent, which is up for a number of Oscars.
Okay.
From Brazil, Sentimental Value, another film that's up for a number of Oscars. Of course, One Battle After Another, Sinners, a horror movie called Weapons that's got a nomination for Amy Madigan as Best Supporting Actor. That's a really good horror movie. Of course, you have Frankenstein, Guillermo del Toro's film. Again, a very good year for movies. Very good year. You even have some of the popcorn movies like F1 that got Oscar nominations, and that was a good film. F1 was actually a good film. Yeah. So it's a good year for movies, and it's going to be an interesting Oscars coming up on March 15th.
Yeah.
And so,
do you think Conan O'Brien will do a good job?
I think he will. It's interesting. He's also in the movie If I Had Legs, I'd Kick You.
Oh, really?
He played in that movie. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And so that's up for a wiggle water too. Rose Byrne and her performance in that movie. Yeah. But I think he'll do a good job. I think he'll probably do a good job.
I think he hosted it before too.
I think so, if I recall correctly.
Yeah.
So, again, I think it's been a very good year when it comes to movies.
Yeah.
It's been kind of delightful. Of course, with my film newsletters, I actually deal with movies from the past. Retro Review, for example, I review, even though I'm not a reviewer, I do review movies, but they're from the past, right? Yeah. I don't do new movies anymore. So that's why I'm not a film reviewer or critic now, because I don't do the latest films. Right. But I do movies in the past.
Yeah.
And Final Cut, I do essays about film.
Yeah,
for example.
Let's talk about your podcast, Final Cut, and the newsletters. So so in the podcast you go into those past movies like Blade Runner or Fast Times at Ridgemont High or
some movies. Yeah. What I focus on with Retro Review. Retro Review used to be a section of the Final Cut newsletter, and last year I spun it off, and it's a separate newsletter. So some of the in season 1, I'm on season 3 now. Okay. Season 1 of Final Cut, the podcast, there are some films that I review from the past, like The Last of Sheila, which stars Raquel Welch and Richard Benjamin and James Coburn. That's a personal favorite. Yeah. With Retro Review, the newsletter, and of course, section before that, I focus on movies that are not as well known. Okay. You know, maybe some of them that were known. For example, I did a review of Roadhouse. That's still known, kind of a cult film.
Which version of Roadhouse? Are we talking the Patrick Swayze version or the latest one?
Not the latest one. I don't do new reviews. I do older reviews of older movies.
Right. So
the Patrick Swayze one. Yeah. So that one I did do. So I do movies from the past at Retro Review, and that can be found, of course, at thumbsdown.substack.com. That's thumbsdown.substack.com.
Okay.
And so
you're breaking up a little bit.
Part of the reason that I enjoy doing Retro Review, part of the reason I enjoy doing that newsletter so much, I think, is because I never got to do that. I didn't review movies from the past. Yeah. When I was a reviewer, I was going to film festivals and reviewing new movies. So it's something I hadn't done, and I've really enjoyed it in the time since May of 2025. The newsletter came out. It's been a lot of fun to do. Yeah. So last year was a very good year for me in regards to my projects and my outlets. I was able to balance everything very well with the 2 newsletters and my podcast. So it's personally been last year was personally fulfilling and personally satisfying. Right. In regards to all my projects. And this year I'm taking a sabbatical from writing the newsletters, both Final Cut and Retro Review. Okay. I'm concentrating more on my podcast, which Final Cut's one, and Write Off is another. So, and that's since I do interviews primarily to promote and market my work and whatever I'm involved in, that's going to be the focus. It has been the focus.
Okay. So it's breaking up again.
So
but definitely. You're breaking up, Al, just to let you know. Yeah, you were breaking up off and on, just to let you know. But definitely check out Al. Check out his podcast, Final Cut, Write Off. Watch the Oscars March 15th. Let's see if Timothée Chalamet gets an Oscar. And see if F1 gets an Oscar. Because who knows if Brad Pitt's going to win another Oscar ever in his life. And, hopefully movies will get better to where, they're not as political. And we just lost Albert. There we go.
Well, I'm back.
Yeah, we're back. You were breaking up and stuff. So I was just I was just saying, to people to, check out your podcast, Final Cut and Write Off. Right. And watch the Oscars and see if F1's going to win an Oscar or Timothée Chalamet is going to win an Oscar. We'll see how much Kylie Jenner will be all over him if he wins.
Right. That's right. It's his girlfriend, right?
Yeah. And then,
I'm not an expert on celebrity. You know, the only way I know about celebrities is really from the internet. That's it. You go and you look up, this is that person. Yeah. So I'm not an expert on celebrity. Let me make that very clear.
Yeah. I'm all on that. I'm usually on that. Okay. Like I said, that's why, when I asked about, in reference to the James Gunn movies, when they like this version of Supergirl that's coming out in June with I don't know if it's really going to be good, but see, the biggest mistake that he's made so far, like I said, is when redoing the whole DC universe. We're gonna see the actual test when Supergirl comes out.
Okay. Well, I guess so.
Yeah, we're gonna see the real test. I mean, because last year, there was a Superman movie. You barely heard about it because it wasn't really out there. And then when they did put it out there, it probably didn't get a lot of views. Well,
I think it did really well at the box office, at least its first couple of weeks.
Yeah. So. Yeah. But like I said, it's going to do well the first couple of weeks, but then after the fourth, fifth week, they're like, yeah, that's a has-been movie, well, and like you said, and the way they're doing this Supergirl, I like the '84 version of Supergirl better.
Really? With Faye Dunaway and Brenda Vaccaro and Ellen Slater?
Ellen Slater. Because that was more interesting. This version makes Supergirl look like a gang member in a way, getting involved with gangs and stuff, fighting gangs instead of really handling whatever the storyline is. But definitely check out Al. Go to allanier.substack.com. Check out his podcast, Final Cut and Write Off. And also go to thumbsdown.substack.com. Check him out. Watch the Oscars. Like I said, watch all the fun, quote unquote, of 3 hours.
And may the force be with you.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
And may the force be with you always.
Yes. Thank you. Yes. Oh yeah, that's coming up soon too. May the force be with you. But Albert, you're welcome to come back on this podcast anytime. Just let me know.
Sure.
We'll be happy to go more into it. And I thank you for dealing with the rant that we had to go. And I know there'll be good. I may get a review of this later on, quote unquote.
Okay. But I'll be glad to come back. With hopefully no other rants.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely in a much better way. Matter of fact, one thing I even said I'm even wanting to do, and being that you're doing like a media tour right now, is I'm aiming to do what they call like a media tour thing, like a Comic-Con type thing, meet and greet. And
that sounds good.
Yeah, and we're former guests, including the one I wanted to have come for my birthday. We've been talking about it. Believe it or not, we've been talking about it, and she's been interested in wanting to do that. It's just getting everything together to do it. Having her and some others, and even the number one fan, number one supporter, she's all for it. She wanted to be part of it as well. So hopefully I make that happen, and when I make that happen, I'm going to keep you in mind.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you. By the way, just before we leave, just wanted to reiterate, I am on an award season media tour.
Yes.
So I kicked off February 2nd, which was this past Monday, and it's slated to end near about maybe close to the 15th or so. So, like I said, right now I'm accepting bookings for for the next few weeks, continual bookings, because that's what it works for me. So if you got a show, you're a host of a film-oriented show, film-oriented podcast, film-oriented YouTube show, and you're interested in a guest to talk movies, talk Oscars, talk awards, film awards, contact me. You can go to @writer Albert Lanier 3434. @writer Albert Lanier 3434. Writer Albert Lanier is my official YouTube channel. Okay. And it should have my information there. I mean, it should have where a contact, like email for that. So they can go there, and if they're interested. So I'm accepting further bookings right now. So again, it started on the 2nd, and it's slated to end around the 15th. That's the 15th when the Oscars are. Okay. So go to writer Albert Lanier. And if you're a host of a film podcast, film show on YouTube, film radio show, any kind of show, contact me if you're interested in having a guest. Yeah. Like I said, I'm still accepting bookings. Okay. Well, just to give you an idea, I actually, on Facebook, belong to 2 podcast groups. I do know, and he even came on this podcast. He started a World Podcast Network, and he knows about 1,100 podcasters. Oh, and great! So I'm going to mention you to him as well. Oh, great! And, that'd be great. Thank you. Yeah. So I, of course, it'll be posted on my personal Facebook page as well as on X, because like I said, and it has been fun. It got a lot out of me today, and it felt good to get it out of me. Believe it or not, it's better for you. Yeah, I mean, we didn't expect. I mean, bad enough. The person I went at in reference to what happened was gonna send somebody to check up on me, because of something. Because I almost wanted to commit suicide last month because my life was a total hell back then. But it improved since then. So now they're like, oh, well, we're going to send somebody to go check on you physically and mentally. I'm like, I'm fine as can be. It's just this asshole just got on my nerves today. Right. But it made it a very interesting podcast for it. So enjoy your fame, because you ain't getting any more of it. And like I said, Albert, you're welcome to come back on anytime. I will mention you to other podcast hosts that I'm aware of, because this was fun. Oh, yeah, it was. It was enjoyable. It was different. Yeah. It was very different. If I wasn't awake, I'd gotten up a couple hours ago, of course. But if I wasn't awake before I did the show, I'm wide awake now. Yep. Oh, yeah. So, yeah, especially out in Hawaii. And I've never been to Hawaii. So one day I may come out to Hawaii just for the hell of it. I'm still here. Yeah. But definitely check out Al. Check out his podcast. Check out the newsletters. If you're a podcast host, which, like I said, I'm going to post this on their Facebook pages. Have him on your podcast. He's fun to chat with, and you can get a lot. You can learn a lot from him. Even the little that I learned from it, and went off on it. It was fun, and especially, like I said, I may not be a big fan of the Oscars, the Emmys, and all that, but talking about it and watching the after shows on Entertainment Tonight and stuff, really is can be interesting. But definitely reach out to Albert and check him out. Albert, thank you again for dealing with this and making this a very interesting podcast. Not the way I really was hoping to get it to, but like I said, if it wasn't for one bad apple, it would have been a little bit different, Who knows? But, maybe people will watch because of it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But thank you so much again. And like I said, you're welcome to come back on
and everybody else, when you do watch the after show now, quote unquote, because now that this live stream is going to end, it will be a regular live video by the end of the day, and then hopefully, even Al's followers that follow him on Facebook and all his social media will watch and learn what Al had to deal with today. Because believe me, it's like I feel bad for Al for him dealing with it, but at the same time it was fun because we did talk about the Oscars, we did talk about film, we did get into opinions on where superheroes should actually be. They should be back on TV. I do agree, but not on a streaming service. Okay, maybe CBS and ABC and NBC, but like Hulu, Disney Plus, Netflix. No, I mean, yeah, you'd rather have it on a regular network because you get more viewers that way. Even though they say, "Oh, we're the number one most viewed on Netflix," yeah, that's because people are paying $20 a month to watch you, or go on Pluto TV. I watch Pluto TV, believe it or not. Okay, I go on Pluto TV and watch all the classics for free. Okay, you don't pay for them, so you can watch all the classic episodes of Gunsmoke. And matter of fact, I even watch Buzzer, which is all the classic game shows and Game Show Network. And yes, I'm even going to quote unquote belittle myself a little bit. I even watch Garfield and Friends on Pluto TV. And yes, I watch Blue Bloods on Pluto TV too. All 14 seasons are on Pluto TV. Okay.
So, thank you for having me on the show. It was a very interesting show, and I'll be glad to come back later on. But right now I'm focused on the tour, it'll be a little while.
All right, and thank you so much, Al, again for being on, and thank you everybody for watching the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. God bless you all.